Welcome back to Agile Apothecary channel. My name is Masha and here we talk about everything Agile and a little bit about Japan. Today I would like to discuss with you some Agile anti-patterns that I have observed throughout my career and the ways to make things work, to improve things. We are also going to talk about why those patterns are bad, and I would be definitely curious to hear about your observations and patterns that you have seen throughout your life, your career. So please share in the comments. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel. And let's get started. Number 1, waterfall broken into cycles. This is a very old tale of being agile versus doing agile. When we talk about Agile, we really want to embrace the mindset, the culture, the responsiveness to change, the customer centricity, and all those other things, versus doing Agile is just about following ceremonies. So if you break your waterfall in cycles, and even if you follow the perfect Scrum cadence and you do all your plannings, reviews, retrospectives, and all other ceremonies, or maybe you're using some other framework, not Scrum, but the essence of your project is waterfall, you probably are just doing Agile, but not necessarily being Agile. So chances are that you're not able to respond to change, you're not able to adjust to the customer needs and wants and respond to the changing requirements, and probably you're not very agile. So in this situation, if it is possible for you and if you want to have all the benefits of Agile, it is very important to shift the focus from the waterfall approach to identifying the vision, identifying the desired outcomes, helping the team to understand the big picture and leaving them enough wiggle room to plan the iterations and plan the delivery and breaking those in actual little cycles which allow them to test the new ideas and to develop new solutions gradually, incrementally. Of course, I keep repeating again and again that waterfall on its own is not necessarily bad. So if you're working in construction, for example, please, by all means, do waterfall. Do design, then do the implementation, and make sure not to change the requirements in the process. So in some cases, waterfall is necessary, but then introducing Scrum ceremonies probably will just prevent you from being efficient rather than bringing you any value at all. Number 2 is what I called dual stack Agile, and I've observed this pattern in a few Japanese companies which claim to be Agile, and I personally don't believe that this is necessarily truly Agile. This is again probably one more case of doing versus being, but let me know if you think otherwise and if you have any other opinions. So what it means. The pattern that I've observed many times is that there are multiple teams, functional teams, and they all are running their own sprints and just hand over the work to each other. So sprint 1, there is a development team developing, then it hands it over, and during sprint 2 there is a testing team working on testing what development team delivered in sprint 1, while development team is already picking up new tasks. And there are a few teams working in a sequence. Probably there are designers, front-end developers, back-end developers, testers, etc. So this is a case of waterfall. To deliver customer value, it takes a very long time. Team don't get to have end-to-end responsibility, end-to-end ownership, so they're very detached from the end customer. Implementing any change takes a lot of time. So for me, this is not necessarily Agile, even though they run Scrum, they run sprints, and they on the surface appear to follow the processes. So what can be done in this case? Ideal scenario, we would want to set up cross-functional teams where each team has all the skills, all the talent they need to deliver value to the customer end to end. So we would want to have, let's say, designers, front-end, back-end developers, testers, all in one team. And if the product is too huge and you need too many people and it can't be one team, you would want to slice those teams into product features, for example. So for example, not the whole e-commerce website, but just a shopping cart. So team responsible for one feature at a time. But the idea here is that they need to own it end to end, and that would help them to speed up the processes, deliver more value, and be actually agile. Number 3, following frameworks by the book and being very dogmatic about certain agile tools and concepts. I see it quite often, and there are quite a few agile coaches out there who believe that there is only one correct way of doing certain things, or that Scrum, let's say, is a solution to all possible problems, and you have to do things in this or that way. And quite often it would lead to scenarios where teams don't understand the meaning behind certain procedures because probably they don't fit the product development process of this team, where teams feel like something is holding them back, where they can't really unleash their full potential. And the productivity goes down, motivation goes down, and processes create a lot of waste instead of solving problems. So we need to be agile about agile, and we need to adapt, adjust the frameworks, the tools to the team's needs, to the company's context, to the industry, and be very flexible. So if that is a problem, what you can do is, of course, doing retrospectives with the team and hearing from them what is working, what is not working, what creates problems for them, and what they would like to change, and discuss how they want to change it. And keep iterating, keep refining your processes and getting better. Number 4, Kanban board. A lot of teams assume that they are applying Kanban framework just because they have Kanban board. Kanban comes from a Japanese word board, but Kanban as a framework is not only about having a board. There are quite a few rules in Kanban framework, and one of the most important, in my opinion, is limiting work in progress. So team gets to decide how many items they can have at progress at any given moment. And that what is helping them to actually keep on improving their processes and reducing the bottlenecks. Of course, there are a few more essential rules. For example, we want to apply the continuous improvement. We want to manage our flow. So we want to keep looking for bottlenecks and reducing waste. We want to make sure we pull, not push. So we pull work from the previous person who finished it rather than finishing work and pushing it to the next person. But this is a topic for a broader discussion. What I want to bring up today is that Kanban is not just about the board, it's a framework, and it has to be applied properly in order to bring the team some value. So the solution to this problem is very simple. Learn about Kanban framework and see where you can improve the processes and apply the actual framework rules to your processes. Number 5. Team manager role. During agile transformation, during transitions, sometimes there is this role which remains from the old times, from the old organization, the role of team manager. Or sometimes I see the cases where the product owner becomes a de facto team manager. Both cases are pretty bad. This is usually a recipe for disaster. In certain cases, it can work if you have a functional team, but then we probably are not talking about agile. But if you want to have a truly agile team, we want them to be self-organizing. We want them to be flat as a team. So product owner is not above the team. They're not the team manager, team leader. They need to have certain leadership skills. They need to be able to drive things forward, but they're not there to tell people what to do, and they're not managing others. They can't boss others around. So we want to have flat structure. We want the team to make decisions about the goals, to set those goals and drive things forward. And team managers' role changes. So we still have managers in Agile organization, but they're no longer there to apply command and control approach and tell people what to do, but they're rather here to facilitate communication across multiple teams, to set vision for the organization, the strategy, and to help facilitate and to empower people, to support people's growth, coach them, and mentor them. So having a team manager is not a good idea if you want to have agile teams. And if this is a case for you, if organizational change is possible, it's better to change the organization and set up those cross-functional teams and remove managers from them. Or if that's impossible for certain reasons, at least make sure to train your leaders and help them to start applying servant leadership approach. Number 6, teams are not able to set goals for themselves. And it might be linked to the previous problem that we just discussed. So if there is a manager who sets goals for the team, we have this top-down approach, team loses all its potential for innovating, implementing new things, trying new stuff, and they lose motivation as well. And that also leads to a problem where the team no longer can be responsible for the product success. If someone else sets goals for them, especially if the goals are unrealistic, how can they then have the full ownership of the product success or failure? So we really want the teams to own the goals, to set the goals, and changing it is also a tricky thing. It requires some organizational change as well, but usually we would want to make sure that we apply both bottom-up and top-down approach, which can be achieved through the quarterly business planning approach, where the teams start by drafting their own sets of goals, then we get alignment at organizational level, and then based on the goals decide on the organizational level, each team would refine their own goals and finalize the goals that they set. But we really want them to make those decisions and set those goals for themselves. Number 7, output-based management. This one hurts, and I see it so often in Japan, and this just drives me crazy. We want to measure people based on the outcomes that they deliver as a team, based on the goals that they achieve, based on the customer value that they deliver. If we start measuring performance, evaluating people based on the outputs being just amount of work produced, we set a big trap for ourselves, because people get the wrong incentives. People start working long hours and producing a lot of unnecessary and useless work just to hit the productivity goals, the output goals. So we really want to shift to outcomes. In Japan, unfortunately, a lot of, especially traditional companies, are measuring employees based on how many hours they worked, how busy they looked. And I've seen people doing some crazy stuff like, I don't know, printing out an Excel spreadsheet, faxing it, then scanning, pasting an image to a Word document, then manually inputting the data to Excel spreadsheet once again, where you could just send an Excel spreadsheet, or for example, refining a page in a PowerPoint document for 2 hours, aligning all the little boxes and spending ridiculous amount of time on those tasks that bring no value to the organization or to the customer. So it is important to shift the goal setting to outcomes and build a shared vision as a team, understand what are the goals that we have as a team, what is the value that we want to deliver to our customer, and then evaluate the team and the team members based on it. I hope that was useful. Let me know if you have noticed any other anti-patterns that tend to happen in agile organizations or organizations that are trying to become agile, and I would love to hear from you. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.